Hi and welcome back to another video with me, Shruti. You're watching Living Our Ascension. Today we're going to be speaking about something that's really special. There's a gateway that's opened up recently, and it happens twice a year. It's called the Pleiadian Gateway. It's a Galactic Pleiadian Gateway, and I made a video in the month of May about the Pleiadian Gateway because that was the first time that it happens in the year. And then the second time is in November. So what this is about is that when the sun moves in the galactic degrees of Taurus, which is in the month of May, and Scorpio now in the month of November, and the galactic degrees are 25, 26 and 27. And when this particular axis, because Pleiades lies in the axis of Taurus, in the constellation of Taurus, and so this particular axis, that is the Taurus Scorpio axis, when it goes through the galactic, when it passes through the galactic degrees, then it becomes the Pleiadian Gateway. And it's a time of these really big activations of our galactic mission. We keep having activations all year round, of course, once we activate our self-mastery. But, it becomes more pivotal at this time, and especially certain doors will open up that relate to the rest of the year, especially the next 6 months until the next Pleiadian Gateway, or another such galactic portal that opens up, and you will find that your life takes a bit of a change in direction, and things get a little more your galactic mission starts to become more serious. So I hope that you like the setting for this video, because it's right by the water, and the Pleiades, it relates to the water energy, because the Pleiadians are these very even the color of Pleiades is blue-green, which is the color of water, and they're very watery souls as well. So anyway, today in this video I actually have a lot to say, and I'll see if I can fit it all in this video, or if I'll make another one about what's being triggered during the Pleiadian Gateway and beyond. So make sure that you subscribe to this channel if you would like those updates. But for now, the first point that I want to mention is about balance. So we're being asked in our ascension to really look at those areas that we might have ignored before. So for example, if you really focused on channeling from the higher realms and those spiritual practices, but you ignored let's say your physical life or your social life or your health, the more physical aspects, then we're being asked to look into those. And not just asked, actually, you might have some challenging moments that remind you that this needs to come into balance now. And that's just the universe's way of opening up these gates, because what's being activated now has a ripple effect. And let's say you embrace your power and step through one gate, then it's going to open up more opportunities in the coming months. So this is really important to know. And I watched a video by this astrologer about 6 months ago or something, and something that they said, it really hit home for me. And they were speaking about the astrological wheel. So for example, all of us, we have our rising sign or our ascendant, and it sets up the map of the whole chart like it's a wheel. And that wheel has different houses from 1 to 12, and all of these houses relate to the various areas of our life. So for example, the first house is the physical body, second house is the house of finances and our family values, the third one is the house of courage and mass media, our self-expression. Then the fourth house is the house of our home and our heart center, and the people that we love, and basically our home life, our inner life. And then the fifth house relates to our creativity and self-expression, our individual creativity, It's the house of Leo, and it's the house of having fun as well, social interactions, romance. The 6th house relates to the house of, it's the house of service and our everyday work, our routines, which includes our health as well. The 7th house relates to relationships and partnerships, not only romantic ones but also related to work. So it's the house of the other, like where the 1st house is the house of self, the 7th is the house of the other. 8th house relates to themes of death and rebirth, transformation, empowerment, and the occult, and also our sexuality and things like that. The 9th house relates to our spirituality, our highest like our spiritual goals, and our spiritual, let's say, ideology. The 10th house is the house of our reputation and our work and the legacy that we leave behind. So whatever we do in this world, doesn't just have to be our career, but what we actually contribute as a human being, and that legacy that we leave behind, the footprints that is seen from that house, the 10th house. The 11th house, for example, relates to the highest ambitions that we have for humanity. So where the 5th house, which is opposite the 11th, was the house of Leo, the house of our individual creativity. This is more like public creativity and public contribution. So that vision and that creativity that we have, the vision that we have for the world and what we would like to see the world to be, and hopefully something better than it is now. And that is seen from the 11th house, that highest ambition. That's why it's the house of Aquarius, and we're in the age of Aquarius as well, where it's all about this community and what's best for the whole and not just for the individual. And then we have the 12th house. The 12th house relates to, it's the house of isolation and renunciation, spirituality, like spending time alone, things like that. But anyway, that's just an example of the various aspects of our life that astrology represents. And what we are seeing now in our ascension is that what that astrologer was saying when he was making this video was that it doesn't take us very long, actually. If you're determined, it doesn't take very long to address all of these areas of your life and to not ignore even one. Even though it might seem a lot, as a human there's so much going on in our life, but it doesn't actually take us all that long to address these various aspects of our life. If let's say we have a whole week or a whole month and we devote certain days to everything, like in 1 week, you can have 3 days where you where the focus is on your creativity, for example, that you do express yourself, and your self-expression becomes important. And so you spend, it doesn't even have to be like you're doing 10 hours of it. Just 1 hour 3 times a week is quite a lot, if you're devoted to it and you're present in it. And again, like health as well, that you have a certain time that's devoted to how we nourish ourselves, the food that we put in our body, and exercise and things like that. And then we have a certain time devoted where we spend time with our family, and then we have time for others as well, for socializing, because you can't just live alone, and you won't really be serving so much if you are just spending time on your own and there's just no interaction with the world. So all of these different aspects in that sense are important, and we're being asked to look at this, and to have a balanced life and not just, fanatically devoted to one thing, because spirituality is also our mundane life, it's how we live in the everyday, it's how we live in the here and now. And so we need to bring that into all of these aspects of our life and not see something as more physical than the other. So anything that you might have ignored, any area might be coming to light, and you might be nudged into really embracing that and embracing your power in it as well. So that's point 1. And let me see if there's anything else. Then what else is happening is that during these portals that we have, the galactic portals like the Pleiadian Gateway, there is bound to be more dark night of the soul kind of experiences for the new souls who are going through their awakening. So when you go through those challenging moments where something happens, and but also within that moment when you really see it for what it is, then you have those beautiful moments of recognition of what you really are. So that's called the dark night of the soul, and maybe I'll make a video about it later. But more souls will be having their awakening process through this in this way, especially because we have the new moon tomorrow in Scorpio. And Scorpio is about this rebirth, this transformation, the themes of death and rebirth. You let go of what you know yourself to be, and when you are nothing, you turn to ashes, and from that a new phoenix rises. Then the third thing is that we are being from the higher realms, we are being shown these hints regarding our long-term purpose and what we need to bring through here, through especially that relates to our galactic heritage as well. So any new talents might be emerging in that sense, or you might be nudged to restart something that you have considered before, especially if it's something creative or something that relates to your self-expression and putting yourself out there. So the third thing that's going on is not the third thing, but the next point is that these holy fire initiations, and the holy fire is the sacred fire, when we are birthed from source. We are born through this, ignition, this fire principle, and it's just the sacred fire that is so pure, in which we know exactly what our purpose is, and we just know ourselves as life, as existence. And when this fire deeply moves through the body, it activates all of the cells, and it leads to this Kundalini experience. So this is what's going on right now. You might be feeling really high tantric or Kundalini states within your body, and you might not even realize it, because what you're experiencing perhaps is this sense of scatteredness or restlessness, and you don't know why. Or it can even be a feeling of dissatisfaction with the world, this star child syndrome. The star child syndrome is like when people feel like they've just been dropped off on earth, and they don't fit in, so they don't know what to do with their life. And let's say relationships don't work out, or they can't feel connected to anybody, they don't feel like anybody else, they feel like they don't fit in. And even in terms of their work, they don't know what to do, they don't know why they're here, because they can't relate to anything. So feelings like this might be cropping up now, but if it's suddenly just out of the blue, then know that it's just that it's because of these high states. Every time that these high vibrations move through the planet, you are soaking in this new, and it first leads to this black, this void, this clean slate, like you wipe the blackboard clean and it's all black. So you are just feeling that, and so don't get disturbed by it. It's actually something very positive, because if you're feeling it in more than one area of your life, and so it feels very big, it means that so much new is coming in. So the more that you're feeling it, the more new that's landing, and that's something very nice. But the way that we balance it is to spend some time connecting within. Because when you connect within, then actually if you're going through these high levels of tantric states, then this new energy wants to merge with your body anyway. It's like it's right there, but there's just something that we haven't allowed, and so the second that we allow it, it all just comes flooding in. So you don't even have to do anything as such. Just take out time to connect within. And I actually shared a post on my wall, on my Facebook wall, or if you're on my Instagram as well, or just check out my blog. And there I shared a very short note about the Holy Trinity and what it means. And there I speak about what you can do. but if we have time, then I'll mention it at the end of this video. But those are the holy fire initiations that are happening now, so be sure to connect within. So I just want to read some important messages regarding what I've said and others. It becomes important to look into those areas of our development in self-mastery that we haven't touched as deeply as others. These are interrelated with other new doors that will open up related to our mission. Just like the wheel of the zodiac, all aspects of life must be addressed. When we feel we have rooted our ascension in the physical in all fields as individuals first, then the next phase of life can start through partnerships. And just like in the Vedas, we have different phases of a human's life. So for example, the first stage of a human's life is brahmacharya until the age of 25, which relates to the life of a student. And back in the day, children after a certain age were sent off with a sage or a guru, where they were trained in life, whether it relates to the higher sacred principles or the everyday, what they are supposed to do in the mundane, just basic things like how to take a bath, how to eat even, which we have forgotten now. And this became their schooling, things like astrology, and learning even, let's say, the martial arts or something. And then after the age of 25 came the next stage, where the focus was not being a student and learning anymore. You were prepared now for life, and this stage involved being the householder, and which involved marriage and taking care of kids. So taking care of other life and being responsible for others as well, providing for others, nurturing others. And that became the main emphasis for life. Then the next stage after the age of around 50 was when you had become like a grandparent already, and then you left the domestic life and let's say you moved to the woods or something, and the main focus of life was spirituality and finding that within yourself, your spiritual essence. And then the final stage was renunciation, which was completely about renunciation and the ideas that we associate with it. So this is just an example of the various stages that were recommended in the Vedas, but in our ascension we're doing something like this. So that life happens through different stages when you start embracing the spiritual path, because it's still early on in our ascension, these are still the transition years. So we have focused on a certain level of mastery in our first part of our ascension, and the first few years they had to do more with our individual mastery, coming into our individual power. And most people think that that's just it, I'm enlightened and that's it. But life is always evolving, and that's actually just the first stage. So after you have empowered yourself completely, you are ready now for the next step, which is about relationships and partnerships, meeting others, and the mastery that you have actually anchored, then you are ready to live it out in the world. So we are beginning to see, even though of course most souls are still going through their ascension process, it's not yet complete, but we are starting to see us moving towards more partnerships. So we're stepping into the next level, you can say, because all life happens in these various stages. And regarding this, there might be some life changes that are happening in your life, whether it relates to partnerships in work or partnerships, your personal relationships as well. So now in the end, I just want to read a few messages that came through. If you are on my Facebook page or Instagram, you might have read it already, but it's good to listen to it again because these are channeled messages. And I'm just going to begin now. So, welcome to the Pleiadian Gateway, a time where much is exchanged inter-galactically between those who serve the Ascension Plan from the higher planes and those who have realized their light in the human vessel. The Pleiadians are extra-terrestrial beings who are actually our forefathers and are always involved in the evolution of humanity. At this time of the year, when the sun comes into galactic degrees 25, 26, 27 of Scorpio, we are filled in with new codes that ignite our sense of purpose. New contracts, relationships, and destined events are triggered that relate to our galactic service. A galactic portal such as this opens us up not only to Pleiadian consciousness, but to all the galactic beings that serve through an association, or as we sometimes call a brotherhood or fraternity, often from the higher planes. What's important for this time? Our guides are communicating that the collective desire for evolution, whether conscious or unconscious, has led to a blank space or void in which the new must now enter. The Pleiadian Gateway is acting as the trigger for this light to become form, especially through the star-seeded ones and light workers who act as pure channels to grid this. We will be feeling a significant uptick in the desire of the collective towards change, and especially a sense of community within the values of true equality, interdependence, and love. When it comes to reforming mass consciousness, the awake humans have a huge role to play. I am getting the message.
My boss is out of town this week.
I'm getting the message that our guides will be working to fan our inner flame, the part of us that has always existed within the fire of creation, that first primal ignition through which all of life was born from source. No matter what form our soul takes upon its many journeys and lifetimes, this is the one thing that is always constant within. We all contain this spark of the holy white fire deep in the core of our chest. When we burn in its embers, all else falls away. Beyond all else, we just know, I exist. I am. Igniting this remembrance in our body is the highest contribution we can make to humanity. If you imagine all humans and life on the planet as part of a web of beautiful sacred geometry, the ignition of your light sparks the whole. Embrace the fellow humans journeying with you in the recognition of this plan that is larger than us, and come together, for all is changing once again.